And what I've also realized is that setting boundaries in your personal and professional life is important. You need to let people know that this is something I'm comfortable with, this is something that I would like to do and would not like to do.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Have a Map podcast. My name is Joshua, and I will be your host today. Today, we have an amazing guest with us who has done many incredible things from what I was able to find on her Instagram and her own website. But I'm going to let her introduce herself.
Hi guys, my name is Aydha Mehnaz. I'm originally from Bangladesh, but I'm currently based in Paris. I have a little bit of a 360 shift of what I was doing previously, and then I completely switched to fashion. So that's pretty interesting. That could interest some of you guys out there. And also, in terms of what I currently do, is I am a image and communications officer for Mugler fashion brand. So it is a part of the L'Oreal group. So what I do as a day-to-day activity is manage press relations and also help manage press relations and also VIP partnerships. That includes custom making of different celebrities or custom projects, and also like in day-to-day the overall internal and external communication for the brand. And
Wow.
on the side, what I do is also that's something that I do on as my day job. And on the side, what I like to do is keep tabs on what everyone else is doing, especially in my home country, to see how I can help the fashion industry growing there. So it's a very big retail scene there too. So just to divide my time from between Paris and Dhaka to really understand and have a global perspective on fashion is moving in terms of communication and brand strategy.
That's incredible. That's amazing how you've gotten to that point so far. But in addition to our lovely guest speaker, Aydha, we also have our lovely co-host intern who is here with us to ask questions, but I will let her introduce herself.
Hello, everyone. I'm Büşra. I'm brand management intern in here, Dim Events. And we are actually so excited with doing an interview with Aydha, which she is working in the brand which I am very closely follow. So I'm very excited for that.
That's wonderful to hear.
So Aydha, tell us how you got to the point where you are at now. What was kind of your life journey to this point?
So I come from I've lived in Bangladesh all my life until about the age of 22, 23. What brown parents, especially if you're from that region, what they do is they train you to pursue careers that's a lot more practical, in the sense where you become a lawyer, doctor, engineer, hardcore money making career choices. And so when my parents suggested that maybe you should become a doctor, and I was like, okay, I'll try to become a biochemist instead. So after I finished high school, I went to a local university there called North South University to do bachelor's in biochemistry and biotechnology. So in the middle of my second year, I was talking to a couple of friends of mine. I was like, you know what, I've always wanted to do something in fashion, and I would like to pursue that in something as a side hobby or whatever. So and I was like, you know what, I'm going to film something when I go home tonight. And something that I could do was wear a hijab, right? So I filmed a tutorial. I posted on, we're talking 7-8 years ago. So I posted online, and then my friends started sharing it on Facebook and different places. So and that was my introduction to the digital space in general, because before that I didn't even know how to edit a video. I learned the whole iMovies on my MacBook, and then took down everything. So it was more of that, right? So it started picking up. I mean, it got attention from like the local press there, and also I was able to connect with a lot of modest fashion influencer network throughout the world. And I'm sure in Turkey as well, where Bushra's based, the modest fashion scene is very big there, especially with brands like Modanisa and so many on so on and so forth.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
so for example, so that kind of like introduced me to this big perspective where I was like, hey, I can actually pursue fashion, not in the sense of like where I have to hardcore like design things and stitch things, but more from a communication level. So I was one of the first bloggers from Bangladesh to start modest fashion in there, and it got a lot of attention. I traveled to so many cities: Dubai, Istanbul, Jakarta, and a lot of people speaking about modest fashion in my country, and also the culture itself, how it varies from one country to another. And on the sideline, also, what I was doing is I took a job there from an upcoming retail brand in Bangladesh at the time, and now it's like the one of the biggest. So I worked there, started as an intern, worked as a marketing lead for 3 years. Before I was like, hey, like I finished my degree in biochem because my mom was like, you have to finish what you started. So I finished that, and I also finished. I worked at as a marketing lead for the fashion brand there. And in 2017 is when I was like, hey, I don't want to pursue. I just couldn't picture myself, like as being in a laboratory for the rest of my life, working on rats. And I know it would have been great to like discover a vaccine now, but I don't think I was made for that. So yeah, I mean, I was like, I don't want to do masters in biochem anymore. So I want to do masters in like fashion or something, like really get into something that I was already feeling more naturally inclining to. So, and I came to Paris. I literally didn't know anyone. I didn't know the language, nothing, just two suitcases at the airport, and I just came. I was like, what was the fun part? Not fun part. Now it sounds like a fun part, but when I arrived, it was like, okay, this is completely terrifying. I just don't know what to do. So I practiced I took like 3 months of lesson before coming to Paris, and I really wanted to engage well with the taxi driver, but I couldn't. And I just lost it. Like the first one's like, oh, mister, can you take me to the hotel, please? And I'm like, okay, yeah, great job, Aida, with your French lessons. But yeah, I mean, I came to Paris. I did my master's in double master's in ESMOD fashion business at ESMOD fashion business for luxury brand management. And for that, after that, did a couple of internships before I finally started working full time for Mugler, and here you go.
That's incredible. Yeah, French. I feel like French is one of those languages where it can be a little tricky to really
Oh
do
yeah,
it.
I'm like, it's been 4 years I live here, and I still find it very tricky, right? So I have my exams too in a couple of weeks to actually pass my French. So I'm like at work, but I'm like constantly terrified if anyone asks me anything, and I'm like taking my time to answer anything because I don't want to get it wrong. So I can write some like a good chunk of it, but the pronunciations, I tell you, it's just like, oh my God, I need so much work on my pronunciation. I really hope I pass my exam.
It's all about the confidence. You just do it until you get it.
I'm not sure. I don't know. Like, yeah, right? Sure. If I can like fool myself out to get an advanced level in French, why not? But we'll see how my exams goes. I'll keep you posted.
That's great. And not only have you been doing press within the fashion world, you've also had articles written about yourself and the legacy that you're trying to make. What has it been like for people to interview you and like from your perspective, being in that world and seeing both sides of it?
That's wonderful. Thank you for asking that. It's interesting because you don't see a lot of people who look like me do what I do.
Mm-hmm.
So I've had so many DMs on Instagram, and also like people in general say that, oh, you've been such an inspiration to me. I would love to do like, something similar or get into fashion because I saw that you could do it. So it's inspiring. It's also humbling at the same time to see like, hey, not every like you don't like you still in America you have that you have that thing called the American dream where you come from like something very small and you make it so big, right? So it's I am not an American, but I have a dream. So it's like so it's like you start out with something that's very small with a I don't know, with your iMovie video making of your scarf tutorial, and to come to a point where you're actually making conversations with people that matter and people who are like really shifting the culture of how pop culture, music, art, like in like creativity in general are making the shifts, and you're like helping them curate and navigate these things is kind of it's kind of an incredible experience how everything comes to life, right? So that's why like yesterday I posted a behind the scenes of the show that was made, the digital show that we made for that was made for Mugler, and then like the behind the scene was picked up by a meme page, and then they're like making, oh yeah, this like there's like the funny things happening inside and outside. It's like you see that you're contributing to a culture in the making that's a very empowering and enlightening experience, right? So yeah, I mean like I've been lucky enough to experience a lot of cool projects and do a lot of cool things that has been written about in the press. So that's incredible to have experienced that.
And I think it's just incredible in itself of what you're trying to accomplish and what your dream is for that, because the headdress is a part of your culture, right? And
Yes.
to show the world what it actually looks like, that it's not just for you, right? It
Yeah,
is for your culture, but that it is more beyond
of course.
just a
Of course.
covering.
Exactly, of course. I mean, like, because fashion, like how I see fashion as is that it's an expression of who you are,
Mhm.
right? And we sometimes we take that expression and we give it a lot of meanings to it. So right, what fashion means to me might mean differently to you or might mean differently to Bushra, right? So
Mhm.
how we present ourselves and how we take what is given to us and personalize it for ourselves, it's quite important because it's supposed to work for you, not the other way
Mhm.
around, because yeah, so that's what trends like. We take a certain trend in fashion and then we try to make it our own. And what is also important is representation and also
Mhm.
inclusivity. The fact that I have such an amazing team that I work with every single day to basically represent who we are on something that's really that people are relating to, it's amazing. So yeah, I mean like it's a part of who we are, it's part of the global conversation, and it's also setting an example of like different, it's not just only about a certain group of people trying to make things happen, but a variety all over the world who bring their background, who bring their culture,
Mhm.
to bring a different perspective of what it looks like to a person that may not have been exposed to that, all their life, right? So it's like a mix of such an amazing combination that it I don't there's like it's one of the only industries that can transcend into different level on a different level and just really touch everyone's lives, right? So yeah,
Absolutely.
it's
Absolutely. And I love the way that you're just going about it with fashion, making it your own and who you are, from all of the things and from the articles I've read about you and just your Instagram page. Because then I think it also helps us, like from outsiders looking into your culture, understanding the importance of it. I always feel like when we interact with other cultures than our own, we're never 100% certain why you do the things you do. And this
of
brings so much understanding. And I always feel like for the Middle East, sometimes that culture is so misunderstood, you know, for
Right.
whatever reason.
Exactly. And then there's also this perception that not all people who wear hijab or wear the headscarf, they come from Middle East.
Yep.
There's a billion Muslims around the world,
Mhm.
and not everyone also covers. So it's like a different perspective from different angles, right?
Yeah.
So one of the most things that like common things that I get asked about is like somebody will come up to me and start talking in Arabic, and I'm like, I'm sorry, I don't speak English. I'm not from there. But no, not from there. It's like my dad, for example, he lived in Saudi for like what 17 years before he got married to my mom. So it was like he speaks like fluent Arabic, right? But I don't, because I wasn't born there and I really can't relate.
Mhm.
But like relate to the context of like having a culture. So like we religion wise, I'm Muslim, but then again, like culturally, we are slightly more similar to what the Indian culture would be like, because we're just next to India.
Yep.
So so that's why, you know, and also, you know, like because of who we are and what we represent, it comes in handy when it comes to communication as well, right? So for example, it's just an example, a team is coming up to us and or coming up to me and like asking, hey, we have this or XYZ influencer from this region, and we would like to advise them with like, hey, what kind of clothing that they want to shoot content for the next collection or for their Instagram, what kind of clothes should we give them? So I'm like, okay, she's a modest dresser, put her in this, because she would not be like appreciate she would not feel appreciated if we give her in something with cutouts, right? So it's just to understand people and what their point of views are, that helps you in the long run to do your job properly.
I actually want to say something. I can definitely understand what her says, because, you know, we basically live in the same culture, but I mean in the regional terms.
Yeah.
And I can definitely understand that there are many stereotypes. And like you said, you know, you just, because you wear hijab and you people like think that you need to know Arabic.
Yeah.
And because I don't wear hijab, people don't think like I'm Muslim, or, you know,
Right.
the stereotypes, the
Yeah,
basic stereotypes.
yeah, exactly. So it's like the stereotype, like, but like sometimes I'm like, I don't blame them, because
Yeah.
if we have become, it's just my opinion, guys, it's my personal opinion, it's just like sometimes we become sensitive to certain things, but then sometimes we can become insensitive, right? So what I feel like, yeah, from not like, if somebody comes up to me and starts speaking Arabic to me, I can take it, it's up to me how I perceive it, right? So for, I can take it as an offensive, like, how dare you speak to me in Arabic, you don't know who I am. Or I can say, I'm sorry, I am not from that region, so I can't communicate with you in that language. So it's
Yeah,
like
definitely.
really educating someone to understand, or say, because if you don't set the tone of how you're going to connect with them, is when they will feel like, okay, they're afraid to talk to you. So stereotyping is like, but then again, there are certain boundaries that does not have to be crossed at all, otherwise, like, hey dude, that's racist, or that's offensive, that's like anti-religious, or, you know, like there are certain boundaries we cannot cross. But whenever we're communicating with our colleagues, or whenever we're communicating with whoever, in like in the general sense of people, we need to be open-minded to say, hey, you don't know about this, let me give you some information on how you can understand where I'm coming from, or what my perception is a little bit better, right? So stereotype, it's very, even for us, it's very easy to stereotype, right? So we just we can cancel everybody all at the same time right away, because otherwise there won't be any people left. We're humans. We want people to understand who we are, and if and we want them to understand us in the same way, right? So it's easy to do that, but then again, we also need to be a little careful on how we connect with others.
Yeah, and the other thing that I am curious about something. So, how did you manage the, because you're working in the very popular brand,
Yeah.
and how you manage your time other than that, other than work, or when it comes to a challenging time, what do you do?
Well, I wish I had a better answer for this, but what I've realized is that it's just a new thing I've learned in the past couple of weeks. So it's fresh off the oven, fresh from the oven. I don't know how to say it. Anyways, so it's very fresh and very new. That is something that I've learned. It's like, yeah, obviously there will be work, and you just need to set an agenda for you to determine, okay, these are the tasks that I'm going to accomplish today, and just stick on it. Don't look at your Instagram, don't look at your phone for the time that you would be working on, right? So this method is called like deep working, like where you switch everything off, you finish the task you're supposed to do, and then you can move on to something else. So that's number one. Because it's like, you also have to look into the line of work, right? So since it's communication, people always communicate, there's always something happening, and like sometimes you have to coordinate with different time zones. Somebody's in LA, somebody's in New York, somebody is in China. Like there's like so many time zones that we'll probably have to coordinate. So
Yeah.
you have to manage your time in certain ways that you at least have 2 to 3 hours of for yourself every day. So either it can be right after work, where you completely switch everything off for 2 to 3 hours, do your hair, do your nails, I don't know, do your makeup, or like put a face mask on. Whatever you need to do for self-care, you need to preserve that time for you. And then you could do it in the morning. What has been helpful for the past few weeks to get my life in order is wake up at 5:30 in the morning, and then from 5:30 until, let's say, 8:30 is when I catch up on my all of my outside of work emails, and outside of work whatever tasks that I'm projects that I'm doing for myself. Do all of that, study a little bit of French, like take like an hour of French course or whatever that I want to work on. That those 3 hours has been very effective, because otherwise I don't feel guilty, like, hey, I'm putting too much time at work, I'm not doing something else that I'm supposed to do with my life, right? So that is, and then obviously you have your weekends where you need your time to get your life in order in terms of like the regular chores and activities that you need to do. So managing time is important. Put everything on your calendar so you know what to do, when to do it, and what to do next. Otherwise, it's not possible for us to remember everything at every given hour. So if you put it on your calendar and you really try to like have an agenda of what you want to do and accomplish for every day, it sometimes it gets exhausting, but you have to do it. I mean, with because we're not in a position of where you can take a big, like, because it's not something that it's like a life of a business owner, that you can take time off when you want, or it's but then again, that's a different perspective, right? So for us who's actually have jobs from like from a strict timeline, let's say from 10 to 6 or 10 to 8, we kind of have to be in the space to make sure that that everything is getting from point A to point B, and it's doing what it's supposed to do. So it's just all about efficiency for yourself, to put it on your calendar, put it on your agenda, that of the goals that you want to accomplish for the whole week. And also meal prepping is important, which is also good. I know it's stupid, but I honestly, meal prepping has saved so much of my time for the past few weeks. I mean, otherwise the process of cooking to eating to whatever that comes after, it's so time consuming. That's why I love fasting.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'm like, okay, you know what, I'm just gonna fast and just like not do anything. But meal prepping has been super helpful. So try to prep your meals, that way you can control your body of how much food you're consuming. You're not like overeating or undereating, you're just getting the right amount. and you need that, right? So you need to take care of your health first. You need to take care of your body. You need to do add a little bit of self-care, even if that includes like a warm bath or something. You need to add a little bit of that to get your life like in perspective, and the rest, put it on an agenda, put it on a calendar, like make sure that then you just do exactly by calendar. I know it's not always possible, but try the best as you can do.
No,
Those
I
are
think,
great tips. Definitely,
yeah,
those were great.
that was perfect. I feel like as students, we tend to try to work 7 days a week, but sometimes we feel like we have to, right? So we don't always have that time for self-care.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
It's crazy, right? So, but there is the thing. It's like, because the culture of hustling, like hustle mentality, you have to work 7 days a week, 24 hours. I don't think that's healthy. That's not a healthy way of seeing it, because you work, and then you just like crash at some point,
Mhm.
right? And then you're like sick for 7 days, and then everything is just falling apart. So you need to set aside at least 1 or 2 hours just for yourself. You're not doing anything, not absolutely nothing, not on your phone, not on your computer or whatever, just to like really adjust your system and readjust your system for the day. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's important.
I have the quick question.
Yes.
So, as a brand image and communications officer at Mugler, I was wondering, what responsibilities do you have in the work terms?
In work terms, the responsibilities that I have now is to like, we work with an external agency that also helps us do our press relations and our activities. That's also something that I work with them on a regular day-to-day basis to make sure that we are present in the places that we are supposed to be present. So that's number one. That's one part. The other part is to, because Mugler is known for, if you see the press articles and everything, Mugler is known for the VIP placements that we do, or like the projects that we do, and with such good relationships that we have with all of the stylists across the world. Um, so that is something that also falls under my responsibility, is to take care and manage those relationships, in terms of doing custom projects and like working with music videos and whatnot. So that's also that's another part. The other additional part that comes like every season is to help the team organize like the shows that we have. So we didn't have shows for quite a while because of the pandemic, but we had digital shows. So really like get the like which press um, would be covering what, aligning everyone's agendas, in the sense where, like the creative director is very busy, so we need to make sure that he needs to know where he needs to be at what certain time and certain place. So really having those things is something that I also take care of. And also like in terms of like the group communication activities, because since it belongs to a parent company, there's always a communications that needs to be done in terms of like different events and different activities that the group has. For example, like if something is done by L'Oreal that Mugler needs to be a part of, we will support, and we will, be a liaison for the brand, to on an internal level, and also on the external side, if like the federation of the Fashion Week Federation wants something done, or this and that, is something that I also take care of, in the sense of managing and monitoring, to help to essentially like help the activities and function and streamline it to where it's being taken care of, and it's being like done on a regular day-to-day basis.
Yeah,
That,
that's really great. Thank you.
thank you so much.
Now, as our last question for the day, any advice to anyone trying to be in communication, marketing, press release, fashion, anything like that?
My advice would like, right now, my advice would be like, just to be, if you are really passionate about what you do, don't have be open to opportunities, right? myself, when I was still in, when I first arrived in Paris was in September of 2017, and I got my first internship in October 24, 2017. So it's more like it's easy to, whenever you're first entering a place or a place that you don't know, it's easy to, like, you know, just forget about your priorities and what you wanted to do. It's easy to do that. But instead, like, you sometimes you do have to make the hard choices to work for free sometimes. Like, that's how I started, right? Working for free, work just to get the experience, and then as you progress, it becomes more and more advanced level to the where you can actually like have a proper placement at a company and also secure a job for yourself, where you possess or you advance and develop certain qualities and skill sets. So I did 4 internships in Paris in total. And like, it was a never ending thing, right? One internship after another. My friends were telling me, it's like, you know what, you're in Europe, you should travel more. And like, I'm like, I will have time for traveling, but I don't think this is the time yet because I need to focus on certain things. So that's how, like, be open to everything, learn about everything, be open to everything. Don't restrict yourself to like, okay, I'm just only going to do this and I'm not going to pay attention to anything else. Specializing is important, but also it's important to have like different knowledge about different things that are happening outside of fashion world, so you can communicate and also like take interest in something that, you know, it gives you a lot more of a critical thinking capacity of how to think things differently. So
That's great. That's great. Well, thank you so much, Aydha, for being here with us.
of course, my pleasure. Thank
It
you so much
was
for having
great hearing
me.
your perspective of just the fashion world and how you experience things. And thank you to Boostra for being here as our intern, just being able to experience what it's like to do a podcast and be here with our lovely guest. And thank you for all of our viewers and listeners. This has been another episode of Have a Map, and we can't wait for you to watch the next episode when that time comes.
Thank you so much. Have a great day, guys. Thank you.